there, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
On tonight's programme, water quality campaigners react to what the government are calling the biggest overhaul of the water industry in decades.
As hundreds of thousands of people live without basic furniture items in the North East, charities want to see mandatory emergency support in place.
We look at why more people are taking to the trails rather than pounding the pavements on their runs.
And a Newcastle musician named One to Watch. She tells us why the music industry should keep looking north for new talent.
Hello, first tonight, what's being described as the biggest overhaul of the water industry in decades has been announced today as the government looks to crack down on poor performance from water companies.
It comes as public anger grows about pollution, sewage and the high water bills seen by customers in recent years. Among the big changes being proposed are a new regulator to oversee water companies, which will replace Ofwat. And in addition to that, there'll be company-specific teams to monitor performance and advise on issues, which can be different across the country. Energy efficiency labels on our appliances will be mandatory to help people keep track of their usage, and water companies will be required to carry out infrastructure MOTs to prevent cracks and leaks in pipes and other issues.
Well, shortly we'll join our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick in Westminster. But first, Julia Bathroom is in Cullercoats for us, where the seawater in the bay is rated poor for bathing quality. So, Julia, people there may be relieved to see action being taken on this.
Yes, I would imagine so. People in this area have been very angry in recent years that the bathing water quality here has been rated as poor since 2018. It's one of 3 beaches in our region where the water quality is poor, the others being Scarborough South Bay and Littlehaven in South Shields. Water quality is something that people understandably get upset about, as are their water bills and the price they pay for their drinking water. There was very little said today by the government about customers' bills. They're due to keep rising over the next few years to pay for the work that's needed on the infrastructure. And the government said today that they hope tighter regulation will ensure that that money is well spent.
This is a once-in-a-generation reform to our water system. We've seen record levels of pollution and water companies marking their own homework. We're going to move away from that system with a more powerful regulator, abolishing Ofwat, ensuring that we have a system that holds companies to account with nowhere to hide for poor performance to deliver better outcomes for consumers and the environment.
Well, those in the region who've campaigned for changes to the water industry expressed disappointment today. Surfers Against Sewage has long campaigned for change in this industry, and they wanted to see more wholesale change with a difference to private companies owning the water companies and acting for profit. The government said that that was simply too expensive to change and would lead to lengthy delays of legal arguments. Surfers Against Sewage did tell me today that despite being disappointed, they do think these changes could lead to change.
We've had a long history of the water companies essentially marking their own homework, and this white paper uses that term. If we get a better open source data where we can actually believe the data across the country that comes stating where assets have an issue, where they need improving, and where things are spilling beyond the regulated allowance, we can finally move forward and improve the quality of the water around us.
So cautious optimism there that some of these changes might bring. There's also been a reception quite favourably from the water companies in this region. Both Northumbrian Water and Yorkshire Water operate. Northumbrian Water telling us today that they think it's a welcome step, that they now want the government to get on with delivering the reforms promised. And Yorkshire Water told us they think it's an important step forward, and they now urge the government to move quickly to establish the new regulator.
Julia Bathroom live for us there in Cullercoats on North Tyne side. Julia, thank you.
Well, our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick is live in Parliament for us tonight. And Tom, there's been a debate around this afternoon, and that focused on Yorkshire Water.
Yes, Amy, it was led by the Liberal Democrat MP for Harrogate and Knaresborough, Tom Gordon. He said that Yorkshire Water have been judged by the regulator Ofwat to be lagging behind in their performance and were recently given the lowest rating by the Environment Agency for serious pollution incidents. He questioned whether a law that came into force last year to crack down on water bosses' bonuses is being properly enforced. The MP pointed out that Yorkshire Water's chief executive Nicola Shaw received £1.3 million in payments on top of her salary over the last 2 years. He called on her to leave her position.
When executives are rewarded while rivers are polluted, that is not mismanagement, it is environmental vandalism. Nicola Shaw remains in post despite rising bills, collapsing trusts and one of the worst pollution records in this country. In any other industry, that level of failure would end in resignation. So today, I say clearly, Nicola Shaw, do us a favour and go.
Well, Yorkshire Water points out that the money in question was agreed by the regulator Ofwat to be not performance-related pay, and they told us it's paid by shareholders and not by customers. They acknowledge they should have been transparent about the value of the payments, but also say Nicola Shaw's work has helped generate £500 million of investment. Finally, the government's water minister responding to the debate this afternoon pointed to the changes, the reforms they have announced today, and saying they would ensure that water companies are held to account.
OK, Tom, at Westminster for us this evening, thank you very much for the latest there.
Now, a change of subject. The vast majority of you will be watching us in your homes, no doubt. Settled on the sofa, perhaps, or maybe having tea in the kitchen or on your lap. Either way, we hope you are comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. But one of the consequences of rising prices is that we're tending to make do with the same furniture and appliances in our homes for much longer than we used to. And many people struggle to afford replacements when they break.
A charity that's fighting furniture poverty estimates that more than 140,000 people across our region are living without basic furniture or appliances. They're calling for a form of emergency support called local welfare assistance to be available in every council area. Catherine Walker has more.
Getting the keys to your new home should be exciting. But for Les in Peterlee, it just caused more problems when he found himself without a washing machine. Last month he did manage to find one at a local charity, but with other bills to pay, he can't afford to get it plumbed in.
So I'm on benefits, right, and obviously I couldn't afford a washer. I think washer costs about, what, 300 quid or 350 or whatever. I depend on my daughter, basically. I give her money for electricity, for doing me washing. I know, like, being a scrounger. Because only, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
Furniture poverty is a growing problem, affecting 144,000 people in the northeast. As shown in these real-life examples, this means they don't have basic essentials like dining tables, beds, ovens and even carpets. Those in crisis should be able to get help from the local welfare assistance scheme run by councils, but budget cuts mean this safety net is disappearing, and last year 48 local authorities in England had no scheme at all. Without a nationwide approach, local charities like the Foundation's Furniture Project in Gateshead are left plugging the gap.
We've had cases where all the kids have been just sleeping on a bare floor with a blanket, and they've gone from that to getting a nice comfortable bed to sleep on. Makes a difference to their lives, makes a difference to their parents' anxieties about what are they going to do next.
Furniture can transform people's lives, turning once empty houses into safe homes. But until crisis support is protected by local councils, charities warn that those most in need will be trapped in a cycle of furniture poverty. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
Well, the charity End Furniture Poverty have been campaigning for action on this. Their director is Claire Donovan, and I spoke to her a little earlier. I began by asking her why this is such a growing problem, particularly in our region.
It is partly to do with cost of living. You know, the cost of furniture and appliances have risen steeply along with everything else. Families who had savings have got into debt trying to keep up with their day-to-day costs, so there's nothing left for the unexpected cost of an appliance breaking, for example. But nearly 250,000 people in the North East living in furniture poverty, and the problem is far more entrenched than that. Only around 2% of social homes are let as furnished, for example. That's the housing for our most vulnerable citizens. And people are being moved into completely empty boxes. That could be people fleeing domestic abuse. It could be people moving from homelessness. And they have absolutely nothing. Due to all the challenges over recent years, support that used to be there for furniture and appliances has been diverted to focus on things like food and fuel. So there are more people living in furniture poverty, and it's an awful lot harder to get out of it as well.
Yeah, it's almost been pushed down the ladder of importance in some people's mind, this perception that furniture, furnishings, appliances are perceived as a luxury, but clearly, as you say, they are not. And day to day, the impact is hugely significant.
It is huge. It has a really devastating impact on people's physical health, their mental health, you know, the stress of knowing that your child's sleeping on the floor and they haven't got a bed, not being able to store and prepare fresh food because you haven't got a fridge or a freezer or a cooker. There are many people on medication that needs to be stored in fridges as well, and they're unable to do that as well. Families can't get together if they haven't got a sofa. You know, imagine in your home going in the kitchen and there being empty gaps in the work surfaces where the appliances can be. Imagine having all your clothes in bin bags because you haven't got a wardrobe and then having to sleep on the floor. It affects every area of your life, and it's long term, it's entrenched, it's day in, day out. And there's a real stigma as well. Unfortunately, people can feel embarrassed. You know, they're embarrassed to invite people into their homes. That could be family, friends, support workers, because they don't want them to see that there isn't a sofa to sit on, that there are bare, dirty floorboards. So I think that all of those impacts obviously accumulate in really poor mental health, affects your physical health. It can lead to debt, again, as people try to buy items themselves. And all of these issues have a cost to the rest of us as well. We've done lots of work with landlords. We've even created a furniture rental scheme for them.
So, Claire, what's the solution? Is there one in the short term? What needs to happen?
The first thing that needs to happen is all social landlords should be required to furnish at least 10% of their housing stock, and the government needs to make them do it.
That is a very stark, clear message. Claire Donovan, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Well, we contacted the government about those calls regarding social landlords, and we are awaiting a response. On furniture poverty more generally, they said that they are committed to tackling poverty and that local authorities can use the Crisis and Resilience Fund to provide essential furniture items and appliances.
You're watching ITV News Time TV, still to come on tonight's programme.
The rise in running off-road. We take to the great outdoors to look at a sport that's getting more popular.
And we saw some good spells of winter sunshine at Tyne today, but the cloud is thickening once again, spells of rain spreading through, and there's more rain on the way. I'll have that in your forecast later.
Next, here's an inspiring story of a personal comeback after a near-tragic accident.
Lucy Maguire is from North Yorkshire. 5 years ago, she suffered life-changing injuries after being hit by a tractor while she was helping her mum out of their broken-down car on a country road.
At the time, Lucy was just 19 years old. She was told she would probably never walk again, but she's worked hard, very hard, step by step, and she set herself a personal challenge, raising money for a charity that's helped her recovery.
So, a week today, exactly 5 years after the accident, Lucy will defy the odds and she'll attempt to climb the historic Whitby steps, all 199 of them. Matt Price has been to meet her.
This is Lucy Maguire's Everest, on the steep steps of Whitby, preparing for a challenge to mark 5 years since a life-changing accident.
I remember just wanting to stay awake and hold on until I got to the ambulance, because I thought once I'm in there, if anything happens to me, at least my parents don't have to see me like that.
The 24-year-old who lives near Ripon had to have her right leg amputated and part of her pelvis removed after being hit by a tractor in 2021. But despite being told she'd never walk again, she's here, preparing to embark on a 199 steps challenge.
I want to turn that really negative, worst day of my life sort of thing into something positive. So when we look back at the 27th of January, it's not going to be, oh, the day Lucy almost died. It's going to be the day Lucy climbed the 199 steps.
And every step of the way, she's being supported by her dedicated physio, Catherine.
She thinks not only of what has happened to her, but how she could potentially make others who have gone through similar things have a better time of it. And yeah, I mean, she's going to smash it.
Lucy takes on the tough challenge in just over a week, with her loved ones right behind her. Matt Price, ITV News, Whitby.
Lucy, we think you are incredible and we wish you the very best of luck with that challenge. Now, the new series of the Martin Lewis Money Show Live starts tonight. Here's Martin with all you need to know.
If you want to save money, keep more of your cash in your pocket and get your money back when you've been ripped off, there's 3 numbers you need to remember. 715. 7:15 p.m. is the new time of the Martin Lewis Money Show on a Tuesday. Keep watching and we'll do everything you can to keep your money in your pocket.
Football briefly, Eddie Howe says his players need to make the most of their home advantage in tomorrow night's Champions League clash. Newcastle play Dutch side PSV Eindhoven as they look to qualify for the round of 16 without having to go through the playoffs. He says it's important his players attack the game at St James's Park.
Of course, this is a key month, and I've said that right at the beginning of it, in terms of our Premier League form, which has been good to this point. We're still in the FA Cup, and now we enter 2 really huge games in the Premier League Champions League. So I think these next 2 games obviously will dictate a lot. I think this first game being at home, big onus on us to attack the game, to try and get the result we need to put us in a much better place.
The trophy was really nice last season, and we definitely want to have more trophies, and we definitely setting a goal for ourselves to be in the Champions League spots every single season, and that's what we're aiming for. I think with the group we're having, there should be what we're achieving every season.
And we're staying on a sporting theme, because if one of your New Year's resolutions was to be a bit more active, you might have considered taking up running. And while some runners or joggers might be content with pounding the pavement, an increasing number are actually going off the beaten track.
Trail running takes place in public routes across fields and forest paths, and that takes me back to the days of cross country at school. And Kevin Ashford has been to give it a go.
Taking to the trails. These runners have gone off-road to clock up their miles and got closer to nature.
I just enjoyed being away from traffic, away from the roads, and just getting that sense of freedom, sense of adventure on the trails.
Started running with my dog, started running with friends, and before you know it, it's a big part of your life.
The great thing with trail running is it doesn't matter how fast you go. So if you need to hike a bit and then run a bit, that's still getting out and enjoying the woods and the beautiful countryside.
Precise numbers of trail runners are hard to come by, but there are signs of a growth in popularity. For instance, one trail race organiser says it's seen a 3-fold increase in entrants to some events since 2022.
Always looking ahead where you're going. Always looking ahead, not looking at your feet.
Matt Buck, who's a trail running coach, is seeing more people take up the sport.
There's different elements. Obviously, there's roots and rocks and things like that you can trip on. So it's a very different experience. It's generally a bit slower, a bit easier going. There's a lot of social around it. People go out in groups and chat and stuff, and stop and enjoy the nice views.
So if you want to take the leap from pounding the pavements to treading the trails, what do you need? Well, you might want to invest in some trail running shoes, because the grip is important when it comes to slippery conditions. That's just about it, except you're going to be a bit slower because of the terrain, so worry less about the watch and concentrate more on enjoying the views. and it's a pastime that can have wide-ranging benefits, whatever the weather conditions, according to Mark Walsh, who's a counsellor at the Lighthouse Therapy Group in Washington.
It's actually given us permission to kind of switch off from the rat race and actually engage in meaningful and playful adventure. We've become a society that's kind of stuck indoors, and I think it's innate within us to want to get out. Once we get out, and especially environments like this, where we're confronted with nice fresh weather, it wakens the system up and it gets us raring to go for more.
Trail running does have its challenges. There's usually a hill or two involved. And because many routes are remote, if you have any safety concerns, running with someone is advisable. But if you like scenery with your exercise, trail running is hard to beat. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
I'm exhausted.
I'm quite inspired, actually. I want to go for a run.
Now, the steps to stardom are not an easy journey, and the music industry is a tough one to break into. But one artist in our region is making a name for herself.
Yeah, absolutely. Rivkila is a singer-songwriter based in Newcastle, and she's been named on the Youth Music's One to Watch list for 2026. They're a charity that supports up-and-coming artists.
She's already been performing in venues across the North East, including the fringe events for the Mobo Awards last year. Amy Sutton was invited to a studio session in Newcastle to find out more.
Hi, I'm Rivkila, a singer-songwriter making jazz and soul music in the North East. I'm one of Youth Music's Ones to Watch for 2026. Well, I know I'm supposed to get up.
So tell us about your style of music.
So I blend a lot of different genre inspirations: jazz, soul, neo-soul, funk, Motown. The songs often start with me alone, kind of voice noting to myself. Then I'll take it to the piano, figure out what chords. Then I'll bring it to the band or to my producers and build it up from there. Seeing how something evolves and becomes the thing I could hear in my head and get translated is like so satisfying. I suppose I've had a bit of an unconventional journey because I never studied music or anything, and it wasn't until after uni that I decided to take a bit of a chance on myself. But I've been performing and writing songs kind of my whole life. Getting part of the Youth Music Next Gen Fund has been so amazing because they've given me funding to work on the project that we're in the studio for today.
This is the journey and the talent which has turned heads of industry experts. From the studio to the stage, the growing recognition of Rivkila isn't something she takes for granted. Especially over the last 12 months with the rolling out of the red carpet for the Mobo and Mercury Awards in Newcastle. The music scene in the North East has been injected with enthusiasm and attention.
It was so exciting to have that spotlight shone on the North East because we don't get the attention that we deserve from, London's where the industry hub is, but I guess Manchester and Leeds get a bit more of music attention, but there are people making great work across the North.
And one of those is her. Paving the way to break into the music industry isn't easy, but it's been a year to celebrate by reaching milestones in her own career.
Last year especially was a really exciting year. I was BBC introducing One to Watch. We performed at BBC Proms for the second time at the fire station in Sunderland, and that got radio broadcast, which was incredible. I've been playing festivals with my band. I released my first EP, Crushed Velvet, which was the first body of work I've ever put out. It's so much fun to get to live out those childhood fantasies, playing dress up, telling stories, and I'm just very excited for this year with more of the same.
It's hoped her name will not only be in the list for 2026, but will be in lights well into the future.
That's such an honour. Again, having that national spotlight is huge, and I feel so privileged to be part of that cohort. There's incredible artists on this lineup.
So given that you're One to Watch, what should we be watching for this year?
We should be watching for new music, lots of live shows all over the UK, solo and with my ridiculously talented band. But new music will be on its way this year that I am so excited for you to hear.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The name to remember, Rivkila. Thank you for talking to Amy today. And Ross, we did see some sunshine today. You tell me.
We did. That's something to
Actually, I'm
watch out
thinking back to
for.
today. I did see some sunshine.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
you're one of the few. Actually, we saw some decent brighter breaks around. There's a lot of cloud around at the moment. There's a swirl of low pressure out towards the west, bringing that cloud. Spells of rain too. But yeah, the brighter breaks finally did develop, and actually out towards Saltburn it turned into a lovely afternoon. Highs of around 8 degrees, and with those shorter days, I have to say every bit of brightness does count, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Today, the first time for some parts of the region they've seen any sunshine since last week, and still some locations missed out today. We want those clear spells to cling on, actually. Last night we did miss out on the aurora, I'm sorry to say, and it was a fantastic showing. There is a chance it could appear tonight, but again, that cloud could be a little bit of an issue. With that in mind, here's the forecast.
A breezy morning will be followed up with a flurry of fresh delights for lunch. TUI sponsors ITV Tyne weather.
There are still some clearer skies to be had through the next few hours, but the cloud has been thickening. With that, we've got spells of rain moving across the region overnight. Into tomorrow morning, that will clear. We do get a bright start for many, but then the cloud again will start to increase, a repeat pattern, rain moving its way through, and there's more wet and windy weather on the way as we head through the rest of the week. Low pressure systems just lingering by the UK at the moment. They're jostling around. They've got nowhere to go. Moving around those who've got the showers, the longer spells of rain, but also at times a real squeeze on the isobars there, the white line showing we are going to get some blustery winds, particularly along coastal areas, some gale force gusts in the mix, certainly through Wednesday and Thursday. For now, it is breezy, blustery even. Again, a few clearer spells here and there, but the cloud is thickening as we pass midnight. That rain really starting to set in. We've got some heavier bursts taking us into the early hours, some strong winds, gusts of 30, 35 miles an hour. Although with all this going on, temperatures hold up at around 5 or 6 degrees. There's no risk of a frost then as we head into Wednesday morning. Wednesday, if you're up first thing, it is a messy start to the day with some patchy rain around. That is quite quickly clearing its way further north. The cloud is starting to thin and break. We get the brighter skies for a time. Into the afternoon, though, the thicker cloud rolls through, some murky conditions, spells of rain, temperatures at around 7 or 8 degrees, and again, we hold on to those strong winds. Through Wednesday and into Thursday, little in the way of change for now. Still these areas of low pressure sitting out towards the west, and again, we've got that feed of showers, longer spells of rain, and those winds gusting at 30, 35 miles an hour. So that pattern will continue. Making our way through the week, lots of cloud around, spells of rain, still those strong winds, and by the weekend, we're going to notice a drop in temperatures.
TUI sponsors ITV Tyne weather.
Thank you, Ross. In just a moment, it's the national and international news.
I'll be back here with a late update for you at 10:30. Hope to see you then. Have a great evening. See you later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.